A tangled web.
And then I came back and I just felt like the things that I wanted or the goals I had to do this and then do this and then do this, it just felt like they just disappeared in thin air. I felt so groundless, and like the things that I was working for didn't really like mean much. And it was a really sad experience. I was like, yo, what does that mean? But it brought me on this project that I've been thinking about for 2 years and still working on. And I knew in the beginning that the person that I would have to be to successfully do it was completely different than the person that I started off to be. And I was so scared because it meant that I would have to stop caring. I would have to stop caring about these structures. I would truly have to, from the inside, not need validation from some of this stuff. And I was not there.
We know, but don't surrender to trying to remember who am I.
Greetings. Welcome to Forget Everything You Think You Know, the Aquarius New Moon edition. I am Monique Ruffin, your host, and I'm so grateful to be here for this episode because I have one of my most favorite people. But before I get to that, the Aquarius New Moon. So there's so much going on in our cosmos in Aquarius right now. The sun is in Aquarius, which means that the energy of our personality is being shifted. Aquarius is this energy of rebellion. It's this energy that asks us to break away from conformity, to embody the weird, the alien, the innovative. It asks that we also be true to ourselves in our communities, organizations, and friend groups. Aquarius is an energy where friends and our acquaintances take center stage in our lives. And in that, we get to see how we relate, the people that we have things in common with, where we're going in the same direction, where we're going to spend time maturing together and becoming ourselves. This is the energy of Aquarius. It's an energy of maturation on some level. But the unique thing about it is that it brings us back to who we were before we took on the conditioning. Before we took on the social standards and competition and ways of being that the Western world dictates for us as true and valid and real. Aquarius is the energy of who you were when you took your first breath, before you started people pleasing and trying to appease folks and trying to fit in and belong. It is in the energy of Aquarius that we realize that our belonging rest upon being true to ourselves, and that you're going to bring something unique to the collective. And it is in the uniqueness that we are stronger. It is in having people in our lives who are not like us that we actually find ourselves to have greater strength and wisdom and knowledge, because we get to pull from so many different facets of consciousness. And Aquarius is governed by Uranus. Uranus is the archetype of the mind of God, lightning ideas. And it is this energy that takes us out of the current construct, the current ways of being, and into new innovative things that will set us in a new energetic. And we are also moving into the age of Aquarius. The thing that's so beautiful about this, in my perspective, is that how the universe moves us from one age to the next, or one cycle of energy to the next. So it started with Jupiter and Saturn conjuncting at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which happened about a month ago. And then after that, Mercury came into Aquarius. So that means that Jupiter is our expansion, our faith. So we need faith while we're moving into this new way of being. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to build a world in our minds and have the faith that we will have everything we need to then begin to structure that world on the outside of us. That's Saturn, cause and effect. And then Jupiter is this faith in ourselves that we can do it. We actually can connect to the unseen and bring it into manifestation. It is possible. People have been doing it since the beginning of time. And then Mercury is also in Aquarius, which means our minds, the way we think, has taken on an Aquarian nature, which is about innovation and new ways of being and breaking away from the old thought paradigms, those thoughts that no longer serve us, that have us repeating cycles of karma, repeating generational trauma. All of that is now being challenged because Mercury has also moved into Aquarius. Venus is also in Aquarius. Our hearts, our emotions, how we feel, how we love. And Aquarius is this energy that says, I'm free. My heart is free. I'm not bogged down by obligations, by old contract, by collective agreements. My energy, my emotional energy is free to express and be what it chooses to be, what I divinely desire for it to be. And then again, we're having the new moon in Aquarius, which is why we're here today with my beautiful, sweet family member. Her name is Miss Taylor Simone. Welcome, Taylor.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to have you here for a number of reasons, one of which is that you're just one of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
Same.
Yeah, you really are. You are. I experience you as, first of all, you're extraordinarily creative. Like, I watched you start playing the piano when you were very, very young, like maybe 2 or 3, like you climbed on the piano and you just sort of hit a note. And I was like, look at that. It was just the simple thing, but it was so magnificent to me because you didn't bang. You never banged on the piano.
Oh boy. I'm really happy to be here.
Good. I'm happy to have you here. So Taylor is a creative genius. Taylor is also related to me, and in our family, like her mother raised me. So her mother is like my mother. So she's like my sister. She's like my niece, all of those things. Mm-hmm. So just to let the audience know who we are, because we're very familiar with one another. But Taylor in her own right is an artist. She's a beautiful, intelligent woman. And she also is an astrologer.
Oh.
Yes. Oh my God, it makes me so happy. So let's talk about your astrology. Tell us your astrology.
I'm a Virgo sun, Aquarius moon. And so I'm really, really happy to be here on what we're talking about, the new moon in Aquarius. So much Aquarius energy, which I was ready for. I was like, all right, now I'm overwhelmed. I have a moon in Aquarius. I'm like, woof, this is a lot of Aquarius energy. But yeah, it's just recently been about, are you going to be who you going to be? It's just really time to blink or get off the pot about it, really. Right. You gonna do you, or you gonna do somebody else? Like, it's really, this is now. Right. And you can reflect on that, but it's really time to make that choice. And I feel like no one's unaware of the type of self they need to be at this point. It's just a matter of having the courage to be it.
Yes, that's really beautifully stated. You are also in your Saturn's return.
Lord, yes, I am.
Talk a little bit about that, just so that, talk about what Saturn return is, and then tell us about how it's going for you.
Word, yeah. The Saturn's return is kind of like a coming of age, real adult maturation, astrologically. And, my generation, like end of 91 to 93 is all, because we're about to be 30 in a couple of years. So we're all kind of coming into this place. We all have Saturn in Aquarius. My moon is in Aquarius and my Saturn is in Aquarius. And that has been something. But at first I was like, I would tell this to some of my other friends who do astrology. They're like, I'm just so sorry. And now I actually see it as an energy that I'm not completely unaware of. I have Aquarius in the 12th So that has been its own journey. And I'm very aware now. I feel like the Saturn situation, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what's that going to mean for me? I'm like, oh, that's what it means. Okay.
Well, what is it? Tell me, give me some language around it. How are
For
you experiencing
me, I think the 12th has meant really in the ways that I have restricted myself it's just been so, and it's not like out of the blue. It's very, because I think my moon is there. It's actually very, it's been very normal to me. And I've been able to really see it like, oh yeah, emotionally restrictive and all these other ways that those restrictions are not helpful.
Mm-hmm. For our listening audience, just so like Saturn, the 12th house is the subconscious, and so it's a tricky energy because it's the one that we often have the least access to.
Yes.
And so we have to do things to get into the subconscious with rituals, meditation, prayer,
Mm-hmm.
And
this is the hard thing to even talk about it, because I had been, how many books can I read? And a lot of it was like, you need a discipline in letting go. It's a discipline in surrender. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Which is a lot of times why people are like, yeah, go pray, go get spiritual. And I'm like, and here's me. I'd be like, so how do you do that? Like, how do you? And they're like, there is no how to you.
Right. But a good Virgo would ask that question.
True, right? But I ask that question, people are like, you are missing the point.
Right.
You need to sit down and do. I'm like, but what do I need to do? They're like, nothing.
Right.
Like, but for real, what do I need to do? Nothing. Right. So yeah, I have been working through that. And it's been interesting.
Well, what are some of the tools you're using to help yourself through the Saturn return? What are you doing? What are some of the tools?
So there's one.
Okay, great. How's therapy going for you?
It has been good. It's so funny. I was so resistant in the beginning because I was like, nobody gonna tell me who I am, but it's been very helpful for me personally to see the stuff. It's been really helpful. So I'm a huge proponent. If you want to, go ahead. Also for me, I think like Aquarius moon for me, I don't know what I'm feeling. And so a therapy space is really helpful to talk that out, actually, and can be kind of emotionally or just like blocked.
Right. It's the Aquarius energy. It's so high. Like that's the thing. The frequency of it is so high. It's not on the ground. It's not related. It doesn't relate to the ego at all.
I really feel like oftentimes, and my friends tell me this a lot, they're like, you rationalize your emotions in a way that's like fascinating to hear. But because it sounds so detached from I feel sad or like da da da. It's very like, so I realize like what are the reasons why that person would do that, and why would I do this, and you add the Virgo in there, and I'm on a trip about it, and then I can rationalize. But they're like, but how did you feel about it? Like, were you sad?
Well, then the Pisces rising gets to come in, right?
Yeah, so the Pisces rising can empathize a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's why, honestly, it's so funny. I feel like I can get mad and then somebody says, I'm sorry, and I'm over it. In quite literally 3 minutes. I will be mad. And someone's like, you know what? I'm really sorry. That was fucked up. I didn't mean to do that. And I'm like, okay.
That's great. That is
okay. And I will surprise myself. I was like, Taylor, you were really mad. And it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds and you were done with it. It's over. Because I was like, because I can feel it. I understand where they're coming from. And that makes complete sense,
That mutability, the Virgo mutability and the Pisces mutability are gifts, because I can feel one way and be so serious about how I'm feeling.
And then they're like, but what about that? I'm like, you're right.
It's over.
It's crazy. That's why I don't even I'm working on saying I'm mad when I'm mad, because I usually don't voice it because I know it can change. In a day, I could be real wrong and change it completely. So I really I feel like I'd be rehearsing what I'm mad about to myself. I'm just making sure I have all my points together. So when I'm met up with really other good points, I can still hold it. Because if it's a really good point, I'm like, yeah, you're right. You are really right.
Can I tell you how good it is to hear you say this? So for the listeners, Taylor and I are family members. We've already said that, but we also have very similar astrology. She's a Virgo, I'm a Virgo. She's a Pisces rising, I'm a Pisces rising. I have a Gemini moon. She has an Aquarius moon, but she has Mars and Gemini. So what she's talking about, this needing to get your points right about an argument, right? It is so I will be in my head making sure I'm clear about why I'm pissed off. So when we have a conversation,
and it's gone to the point where sometimes, because of the Libra Venus in me, because I could easily pacify if I don't have my stuff together. I have written it down before. I have literally had little talking points I used to debate and all of that, just so I don't lose my place and forget why I was mad. It's just Right. And then I get off the phone but you didn't say the thing. He didn't say it.
Girl.
So yes. But on Aquarius Moon stuff, therapy has helped me a lot. I have been taking so many baths and it has been so helpful. I mean, I grew up taking a bath a day until I was in high school.
Yeah, I remember.
But I went back to it and I was I now I take a shower and then it just an intention bath where I just sit in there. And it's been so, I'm oh, this is what being present is. This is so interesting. I can do it there. You can do it
in the bathtub.
So
are you using do you put anything in
the
what do you use?
Mad salts. I got a little self-love oil that you put in there and fun bath bombs and just sit. And it's been so, I was wow. I remember actually one time I had a throbbing headache and usually I'll take an ibuprofen or something. And I took a shower and a bath and it was gone, completely gone. I was oh wow, this is how much you need it. I'm not even aware of the type of stress I'm putting myself under.
Well, the beautiful thing I hear you say is that water heals you.
Mm-hmm.
Water is so that Pisces rising, right? That water, and for our water is entirely alive. Mm-hmm. But the water that we have on the planet is the oldest living being. It's completely a living being. If we didn't have water, we would die, and we can go without food, but we can't go without water. It's really a sustenance for us. So that's beautiful that you are creating that relationship with water.
It's been really nice. And also 12th house, stuff as well. And, creativity. 12th house creativity, music is so big to me. And I've spent the last 2 years reevaluating what that means to me. And with that has been, and it's been very fraught with music / industry / family stuff all together. But working through that and I'm creating this or I'm creating that or I'm crocheting or I'm doing this and has always really helped me. So I crochet a lot. I do a lot of crafts. I'm a crafter. And that's helpful.
And how do you choose your crafts?
So Virgo, so I'm very resourceful. It's so funny. I'm don't show me a picture because I will look at it and be how is it made? Let's see. Let me look and see how it's made so I can make it myself. I'm way too cheap. And so, I make things that I want to own. So, I make journals, I make anything that can be created with yarn, any type of piece of clothing. I do kind of embroidered pieces on pillows, you name it. I'm trying it. And it gives me a lot of confidence in my ability to create things.
Yes.
The DIY really helps me be like, oh, it can be nothing and it ends with this. And it's a quick process.
That's powerful. Because the thing that I'm aware of from the astrology is how creative we are. We are creative beings. And I constantly remind myself several times a day that I'm made in the image, and I always say, I'm made in the image and likeness of God. And then I say, well, who is God? The creator. Then who are you? A creator. Just to remind myself what I'm really up to, and that everything about us is creative. Our thoughts are creative. Our feelings are creative. Our choices are creative. Our relationships are creative. We're always in a process of creating, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so this is the value of understanding who we are, and that we're creating everything in our lives, everything that we have in our lives up till now, everything that is around, you created it somehow, whether you know it or not. And that's powerful to me. And so I love hearing you say that.
Yeah.
So tell me about your current music project.
My current music project, it's been a deep dive. All of the things I work on musically are deep dives personally. So it's been a real deep dive in me really re-understanding my place as a musician. I was in a group called Jazzy Belle that I learned so much and had such a blast in New York. I lived there for 8 years. And then I came back and I just felt like the things that I wanted or the goals I had to do this and then do this and then do this, it just felt like they just disappeared in thin air. And I felt so groundless, and like the things that I was working for didn't really like mean much. And it was a really sad experience. I was like, yo, what does that mean? But it brought me on this project that I've been thinking about for 2 years and still working on. And I knew in the beginning that the person that I would have to be to successfully do it was completely different than the person that I started off to be. And I was so scared because it meant that I would have to stop caring. I would have to stop caring about these structures. I would truly have to, from the inside, not need validation from some of this stuff. And I was not there. And now where it has brought me is, I always have been saying now, I'm like, oh, music is the adventure of my life. I keep on searching for adventure in all these other ways, and I'm pretty reserved in my actual life actions. Aquarius Moon, my ideas are radical, but my actual actions are quite conservative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
The music is the adventure of my life. And I think at this point, what I've gotten to on what music means for me creatively, personally, ancestrally, the deep dive we're doing has just given and given and given. And at this point, not only am I like, I'm still writing. That's the gag. Like I'm so grateful for this time of isolation and things like that, just because nobody's expecting artists to be creating like they used to. Have something. I'm like, it'll come when it comes. And it's so beautiful that like everybody's on that tip. Because now I can like, before I'd be like, oh, it's not done yet. It needs to be done I've been working on it, and I'm like, it'll be done when it's done. And when it's done, it's gonna be fire. It's gonna be hard. I'm gonna really like this one when it comes out. You know what I mean? And so getting back into taking music for myself, that's really the core of the project. Is we don't need it. I'm so exhausted by needing, like, everyone's like, oh, they didn't get nominated for this and they didn't get, I'm like, why do we still care? I'm so confused. I am so confused why we still care.
Why do we still, so that brings me back to what you were just saying. Like, you are, the Aquarius New Moon for you is like letting go. You realize you had to become something that you weren't to even do this project.
I was
profound.
I was frightened. I was talking to Mike, and we were,
Say who Mike is.
Mike is my partner, and basically like a creative director on this project. And we were, we're both Aquarius moons, just sketching out rhetorically. And I was shaking in my boots like, ooh, if I don't embody the true freedom that I'm saying, it's going to sound like I'm bitter on this whole project. And that's not the intention. I really have to act like I don't need these things to recognize me, because if I don't actually feel that, it just sounds like an angry album with it just sounds like a woe is me album, which is not the intention. So I really had to sit and nourish the pain of not being heard for real. And it goes back further than me. So with that, yeah, what you saying?
As you say that, it goes back further than you. Let's talk about our family a little, just a little bit.
I have been thinking a lot. My dad was also a musician, a great one. And his experience with, I think his career disappointed him in a way that directly impacted my relationship with him. And fed into my expectations and dreams of who I should be as a musician. And in doing this project, I'm not only teasing away my failed expectations of what I thought being on and being big would be, but I'm also healing those things that I feel like my dad didn't get to as well, which was something I never expected this project to get me to in the beginning.
Absolutely.
But it's been really helpful.
I can see. And I just want to say for the listening audience, if you want to check out you can go to YouTube and check out D. Harvey. And you can find some of his stuff there. He was an incredible artist. I also want the listeners to know that the opening song that opens up this podcast, Taylor wrote, sang, created, directed. That song. So just while we're in this moment, because I want to come back to the conversation around our family, just tell people where they can find you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. TaylorSimoneHarvey.com. I got a website. And and I'm on Instagram and all those things. I'm not that, I am the one that's barely on things, but basically on TaylorSimoneHarvey.com.
Yeah, and she's an incredible artist. So the generational karma, working to heal the generational karma, that has been something that I have been doing since I was about your age and earlier, and I think you've watched me. But what is this generational karma thing, and how is it showing up in your life, in your art? And how are you using it to support you?
Yeah, I feel like, my anger around failed or missed expectations in music has brought me to figuring this out. And as it stands today, I feel so much more confident in my art. And I truly, I'm getting to that place of truly not caring. I think I was saying it before, but still looking, peeping, The people watching know, you know? And, you know, we're human. It's fine to want to share, but I think my intention is now just wanting to share what I have. And I thought that was something that everybody dealt with, but now I understand that this is a very specific family thing as well that I'm working through. Yeah. You know, this is not everybody's, you know, predetermined thinking about it. This is like your specific experience on this stuff.
Yes. It's almost like in our family, there's like been a couple of generations of people who were really brilliant, but their brilliance couldn't be fully realized and fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so that created depression, addiction, sadness, you know, illness. Yeah. And we've seen it in countless members of our family. And I know when I was in this growing up young, you and I are I think I was 24 or so when you were born, something like that. But when I was growing up in this family, I remember being able to see the trauma. I felt the despair. I wore it like a shirt, you know. You know, depression was like a season in our family that was always running. I was motivated to shift that. And how has being a part of being in our family, how does it impact you? And then what have you done with it, or what are you doing with it?
Right. That's such a big question. But I think right now, being a part of the family right now really makes me proud. It makes me very proud of myself and of my family, because we have been through a lot. And, you know, we are a blue collar family. And here we are. Makes me very proud. Very, very proud to be Black. And very unafraid, you know, so unafraid. It was so, because now my feeling around music, and what I will communicate with this project is, we do not need it. Mm-hmm. Our well-being and our creative fruits and our happiness as creators and artists are of the most important, period. Mm-hmm. We don't need people to fund us. If they want to, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But we're not sacrificing what we do and what we love and what we this and what we that for that stuff.
Yes. Oh, that is so interesting, because I just heard an interview with a popular R&B singer whose name I feel like I can't remember in this moment, but she was saying how, like, in her career, she had to really struggle with doing what she really loved creatively, mm-hmm. or doing what was selling.
Yeah. And that's always what I've fought with too. I was like, but I want this opportunity. Mm-hmm. But and this is the Aquarius stuff, I physically cannot conform to this stuff.
Yes.
I cannot think of it. I physically cannot do it. I'm just not. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, I'm kind of grateful for this time, because I'm like, what is being famous now? Like, what is that? Like, mm-hmm. What is that? Mm-hmm. Huh? You know, and I mean, cheers to whoever, but it's like, it's all good. Now I feel like you just do, for me, my art is sharing it with people who are open to hearing it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let it change who wants to be changed. And that's so exciting to me, you know, and that's not modest. It really is helpful. I feel like I'm all over the place on this interview, to be honest. But
no, it's fine. We get to be all over the place. This is forget everything you think you know. So we're doing that. And so what I hear you saying is, you're forgetting the ways in which you had approached your art prior
Absolutely.
to now. You're stepping into a new way of being. You are really allowing yourself to step into this I don't care, which is the detached energy of the Aquarius moon. I'm true to
And it's
myself.
alienating. I will tell you that.
Huh?
It has been. I'm saying, and it's alienating. It doesn't feel that now. I feel like finally I'm in a place where the way I feel is being echoed by others as well. And you kind of find people. But when I was feeling this, I was very sad, and I felt alone in my thoughts.
Yeah.
And Aquarius, yes, it's this, and it's also alone.
Yes, it is.
I mean, Aquarius be on their own.
Their own rhythm. Absolutely.
On their own thoughts. And I think that sometimes, like, pop astrology will talk about how that is like what they want to be, which is true to an extent, but it is also lonely. It is.
They go to the beat of their own drummer. And it's interesting because just as yesterday I was in a conversation with some friends of mine that I've been friends with since I was 17 and I'm 52. And they were saying to me, Monique, you have always been talking about this stuff. You've always been the one that's like intentions. You've always been the one that's like energy and the cosmos. And I was like, oh, I was on some Aquarius stuff then. Back at Howard University, I was the one who was like, we should be doing this rituals and I always felt so alone. I always felt so isolated. And I'm noticing with the sun and Mercury and Jupiter and Saturn and Venus, and now the moon coming into Aquarius, I have been journaling in the last couple of days. I feel lonely.
It's a real thing. And I think that Moon in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius, for me in the 12th.
And Lilith.
Oh, Lord, don't bring up that Lilith.
Okay.
No, I mean that, feeling lonely, surrounded by people even is something I have felt a lot. But just I remember someone said being lonely is not being alone, it's feeling misunderstood. That is what loneliness is. And I was like, oh, absolutely. But I don't have to feel that if I understand myself. If I accept and understand myself, then I can be myself that's different from these other people and be fine with it. It's really in the like lack of acceptance with myself. Like people are going this way and I'm going this way and I feel a type of way about it. People are trying to follow their life in this way and I'm vehemently against that. And I feel a type of way about it. That's when I start to feel lonely. But if I am like, yeah, I do. And we can still go eat dinner. And like, that's fine. Then I don't have to feel that way. And I think that that's what that Aquarius energy is. Like, you got to own yourself alone. That's why we are all at home, really, alone. Who are you? Nobody's really around.
Yes.
And only when you're like, this is who I am, then we'll see people. We'll meet people. And we can hang and we agree to disagree where we are. And that is our community now.
That is so very, very powerful. I am so honored to have you as a family member. Like,
wow.
I mean it. Like, I am profoundly moved by your level of curiosity and by your devotion to your craft. Like I said, I've been watching you climb up on the piano since you were very young, and you stayed at it, Taylor. You've gone to college, you've been in relationships, and you stay present to your craft, music. It really is your language.
I appreciate that, Nick. That's Nick. I appreciate it. And I mean, you heard, I was like, I'm done with music. Okay, yeah, I have to really like preface that like the reason why this project has been so impactful to me is because I had literally been like, I'm done. I quit it for real. And all my friends were laughing like, yeah, you're not gonna quit. And I was so mad. I was so mad at them. I mean, they were kind of right?
Yeah.
But I was mad because I was like, you really don't understand how like the level of frustration and hopelessness that has brought me to this point. You know, for y'all to feel like I'm faking out, like I really, you know, but it was nobody's responsibility but my own. Really, it's nobody's responsibility but my own to figure out a new way to do this.
Yes,
nobody's responsibility but my own.
and
Nobody's
that's courageous.
Yes.
Courageous to discover that you were unhappy, that it didn't feel good, and then to let yourself feel what you felt, and then to find a new way is courageous. That is the definition of it. And I think that this is the time that we live in. My sense of where we are right now with everything in Aquarius is that we're moving into a renaissance.
Oh, yes.
Girl.
Oh, so happy. Ooh.
I know, right? And it's a renaissance for Black people.
Yes.
We are coming out of that consciousness of the slave mentality, which was from 1619 until 2018.
It's gonna be some dope stuff. I'm just so hyped. It's so hyped.
Tell me, what do you mean? Like,
I'm just so hyped for it. I know that it's gonna be some crazy music, and slowly but surely, I'm like, people are starting to understand that we don't need these awards. These awards were created by, like, I don't know, some old white guy that decided to like give themselves awards for things like like that's the basis for this stuff.
Born out of capitalism, the competition.
Yeah, it's just born out of like, who decided? Somebody random decided. So it's like, okay, like literally whatever. Like, let's do this ourselves. And I'm just like, at what point do we just decide we don't need to be represented? And that way we can just represent ourselves. Like, what is this need at this point?
I think that's what Prince was trying to do, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I see that in a lot of things. People are like, oh, okay, we need this. And I'm like, do we? I could just, I'm truly fine over here.
Yeah.
I don't need to be seen as acceptable through your eyes anymore. Like, I don't care.
Right. Right.
I don't want to be you
at
all. And it's taken a couple of years to truly in my soul not want to be that. Because it's hard. It's a lot of unlearning. A lot. And I fall, you know, sometimes I'd be like, oh, but.
What are some of the things you've had to unlearn, Taylor?
Well, I think that unlearning, I feel like sometimes I've been equating like musical success with like feeling good about myself, you know? So I had to have some type of like, but you cool. Even with your faults, like you good, really. And then allow the music to be not yourself, an extension of yourself. Because once I started to be like, I am music and nothing else, like everything breaks my heart. And it's hard because music is a very personal thing for me. So I create it, but it also is not me. It is a production of me. So working on boundaries with that. And like understanding what the stuff is, like, yeah, you might want that, but like what you truly want is not going to get you to that. And like, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be able to kind of own everything that you want to do and have like, and be weird and have a concept project every time you put something out. And, you know, you want to fall off the face of the earth for 8 months and like not show no pictures of yourself for a year. Like, and if you want to do that, understand that doing that means you're not going to be on this like quote unquote track. That's who you are. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because you can't force yourself to do something that's like inauthentic. At this point, everyone can see through the BS. So even if you try and do that, they'll be like, but she's not really about that life. She's not really about it. So it won't work. And I don't know, I'm just by no means have I like come on the full, like it's always a learning process.
Yeah.
But I think not only in like music, but in like race and a lot of different things, it's a like, oh yeah, like I'm proud of this. And like, I don't feel like I don't need to show you this.
Right.
And I feel like more artists that do that, like I don't need to show you anything. I'm like, nobody would go to the Grammys if everybody believed like that.
Right.
The Grammys would go out of business if people stopped.
Wonderful if the Grammys went out of business.
I'm like, every year we're upset. So why do we still care? Every year.
Wonderful if we didn't care about the Oscars or the Grammys or the Emmys.
So that's where I'm at. Like, it's just like, we want these awards to represent us. They never represent us. And then we're mad when we could just stop caring. Like, they make their money off of you needing them to represent you. But as soon as you're like, I don't care, they're scrambling, trying to decide, hey, now we're going to just like, you know, nominate a whole bunch of people like this, or does it just so you stay interested to keep the thing moving, like, you know, and
keep the power over there.
I'm just like, every time I watch it, and I'm like, I'm not hating on anybody that like, because the truth of the matter, it's easy to say that, but it's also like has lasting consequences in your career, right? As much as I'm like, oh, like we could just, I'm like, yeah, but you got a Grammy, your pay grade's up a couple $100,000. Like, there are real impacts. So I'm not hating on anybody that does it, and I'm like, if you get one, like and look at me. If somebody who's Grammy nominated want to work with me, am I gonna say no? Probably not, right? You know what I mean?
But you have a criteria that includes this way of being that's about creating from the space of authenticity, and not creating to get what sells.
And not creating to get that. I'm not fiending for it.
And that's what I hear you saying. So I really appreciate that, Miss Taylor Simone Harvey. So I want to ask you again, one more time, just to say where people can find you. And I heard you say that your project, you don't know, so I'm not going to ask you when it's coming out.
I've been keeping it under wraps, but follow me, because I would say in the next month, it's all going to be like revealed. So at least like one thing. So I'm very excited.
Because there's a Virgo full moon coming up. So this is your month, because this month is Aquarius New Moon, and you're an Aquarius moon, and you're Virgo sun and the Virgo full moon. So this is your month. So happy coming home to yourself.
Happy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So again, where can they find you?
TaylorSimoneHarvey.com. Subscribe to emails, because what I've been doing, I've been interviewing basically family members and family friends that have decades in this industry, and they have just been delivering keys on keys on keys. I've learned so much about them and from them, about how to kind of reframe my mind and being the artist I want to be. So, you know, just free keys, you know, subscribe and listen to those great people.
Thank you. And also go check out her father at YouTube, D. Harvey. May he rest in peace in the greater consciousness of the Creator. And we are so lucky that he and your mother came together and created you. And this is the last time I'm gonna say it. For I was in the room when Taylor was born. Taylor has the thickest hair in the world, and I remember watching this very full head of hair coming through these two legs.
Oh gosh.
And me being like, you're the first person I ever beat. You're the first birth I ever experienced. So I was in the room, right?
Something else.
I know. So it's a like, so I really have a very auspicious relationship with you, including all of the other cosmic generational things that connect us. We are star sisters, for
Absolutely.
sure. So thank you for being here. I love you. I'm so happy for you. The work that you do is amazing. Your music is amazing. You all go check out her work. The song that introduces this podcast, Taylor wrote and produced it and sang it. And this is the talent that we have to serve the transitioning that's happening on the planet right now. Taylor is a part of that. So thank you for bringing your greatness to us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've had so much fun.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. All right, everyone. I am Monique Ruffin. Go also check out the classes that I'm offering. Go to my website, moniqueruffin.com, and check out Rebirthing the Authentic Self. It's a year-long course centered around moving ourselves more intentionally into the age of Aquarius. Also, Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, that class will be going until February 20th. We want to be able to really look at the vision that we are looking at for ourselves. As we've been listening to Taylor talk, just the vision that she has for her life and her music, like there is a clear intention that she has, and we all need to have that. There are scriptures that say people will perish without a vision. Without a vision, the people will perish. And so we certainly want to thrive, and that requires us having a vision. So if you're interested in creating a vision for your life, you can take the Mercury retrograde in Aquarius course, and you can find that at my website or at my link tree on my Instagram page, Monique Ruffin on Instagram and Facebook. So thank you for joining us for this Aquarius New Moon edition. I hope that you set strong intentions around being true to yourself, or around really breaking away from old ways of being, because we are here to ignite the power of the divine within us. Peace and blessings. I am Monique for Forget Everything You Think You Know. Have a beautiful, beautiful 2 weeks until the Virgo full moon. Bye-bye.
The feeling we know but don't surrender to, trying to remember who am I? Who am I?